Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on just the Arrowverse as a whole. So it has been 2 weeks since the launch of the Earth Prime comic event set within the Arrowverse canon, with of course issue number 1 being set around Batwoman, which at the end introduced us to the big bad of the event in the form of Magog, with him taking Clayface with him, promising revenge on Batwoman as well as the rest of the heroes in the Arrowverse who he sees as like false gods who really don't care about true justice. Now, the second issue, as the title does say, revolved around Superman and Lois, and this issue had me curious how the other issues would play out from now on until the end. And by that, I mean like the Batwoman issue of this Earth Prime event felt like an episode of the show, just in, the comic form, obviously. So fans of the show would be the ones to fully enjoy it as it took place within the events of the most recent season. But this issue with Superman and Lois felt like an actual comic issue just set within the Arrowverse, rather than feeling like something that would actually be in an episode as a whole. And I think the main reason for that is that this issue with Superman and Lois, while being for fans of the show and the Arrowverse to enjoy, was also maybe partly used to bring new viewers to the show as well, because it doesn't really spoil anything for anyone that hasn't watched the show before, outside maybe like one thing. If anything, it would have someone who hasn't watched the show but enjoyed this comic intrigued to start the show and dive more into this world and these characters. But of course, throughout the video, be sure to let me know in the comment section down below your general thoughts about this. Have you read the issue? What were your thoughts about it? Or are you just watching this video to get the general gist and story of it? Let me know your thoughts and, reactions, and also theories based off the end and where this could go. I'm always curious to what you guys are thinking. And of course, if you're going to enjoy the video, found this helpful, and just want to show support, why not drop a like on the video to do all that? But this issue with Superman and Lois, for the first part at least, revolves around Clark and Lois's wedding anniversary, but the weird fact that they actually celebrate their anniversary 4 days after the date of their actual wedding, with us learning why that is the case. With us getting flashbacks to a younger Clark and Lois starting exactly 1 year after their wedding on their traditional anniversary date, with them having plans for dinner that night, to celebrate the anniversary. Which doesn't end up happening, as Clark is kept occupied by Superman-related activities, and Lois gets stood up, with the couple trying the next night, only for Lois to get caught up at the Daily Planet and Clark being stood up. Now, once again, the couple try the next night, but Superman gets caught up taking on Nuclear Man in Las Vegas, once again leaving Lois at dinner alone and having to end the night early. Of course, we are following a pattern here, so the next night, Clark is stood up as Lois follows a lead on a story that involves Toyman and also an underlying intergang story build-up. But Lois and Clark do end up 100% committing to finally having their proper anniversary dinner 4 days after it's originally planned, no matter what happens, anything like that, with Clark promising to keep his Superman activities isolated to the local area. However, that is put to the test when none other than Lobo, yes, Lobo, shows up, and of course, as you'd expect, Superman is a target of Lobo the bounty hunter. Now, apparently some red-headed broad, as Lobo put it, paid Lobo a lot to bring, Superman to her, but who was this woman? Now, they don't name her, but it was probably Maxima, or Maxima, whichever way you want to put it, who had a thing for Superman, especially earlier into Superman's history. That's who I would assume it is. I don't know if there's meant to be any payoff from that, or just a bit of an Easter egg, I'm not too sure, but that's who I'm assuming it was. But Superman is eventually able to break free of Lobo's restraints and escape and try and get back to dinner with Lois. Now, while all this is going on with Clark, or Superman, Lois is tracking Bruno Mannheim, who is the leader of Intergang, who is meeting with his so-called political puppet, which is actually revealed to be the mayor of Metropolis, who Lois had just had a meeting with pretty much just before this. So there was always drama going on, not just in the present day in, Smallville, but also in the past in Metropolis, as you would expect. But Lois is actually able to get proof of this meeting between the mayor and Intergang before leaving, so we know that Lois has a big story coming her way. But because of all of this, Lois and Clark do meet at the restaurant at the same time. They get there, they're ready for dinner, but the restaurant is closed. They were both late, but they still made the effort to get there, which, both showed to them that they still tried to get there, and it shows them that they both, have a lot of love for each other. With Lois's hunger for Hawaiian pork being sorted when they actually do fly to Hawaii for dinner, where it is still an appropriate time, and that's what they do every year since that point. 4 days after their anniversary, they go to Hawaii, even to the disbelief of the twins, Jonathan and Jordan. Now, I thought that was a really fun story just to have there to show the history of the couple, as well as just the events with Superman previously in the Arrowverse, which I thought was really cool. Now, there is another short story before the second main story of this comic, but this middle short story is called Father's Day. Now, this focuses on Jonathan Kent, Clark's father, which has Clark looking back on his father and his everlasting influence on him, despite the fact that Jonathan had died long before Clark donned the tights and cape as Superman, with the strong focus being on Clark's first solo byline with the Daily Planet and the influence that Jonathan had on that side of his life, showcasing that Clark not only makes a difference as Superman, but also as Clark Kent, the journalist, which is what sort of Jonathan would have, that's the sort of thing that he put on Clark. It wasn't the Superman side, it was this Clark Kent side. And it's sort of this thought from Clark that no matter what Jonathan would have thought of Clark going around as Superman in the tights and the cape and everything like that, that this journalism side and the success that Clark has would have made Jonathan proud. But the final story of this issue in the Earth Prime series for Superman and Lois was one called Controlled Burn, which shines a light on the origins of the evil Superman from John Henry Irons' Earth and the next stage for that character as well. Now, we start with this story from a young age. This Kal-El learns about controlled burns from his father, letting the dead crops to be cleared away by fire to make way for the fresh new crops, with there actually being a car crash later on the 4th of July, that holiday, which kills Jonathan and Martha. Now, this leads Kal-El to be placed in a foster home, and it wasn't a Billy Batson situation, more of the opposite. It was an abusive foster home, which one night leads Kal-El to killing his foster father who was being abusive. Now, Kal-El goes on the run, but is found and taken to a government facility where he was later able to escape and then find the crystal to access his Fortress of Solitude, which is actually in the Amazon rather than the Arctic. But when he is confronted by Jor-El from the crystal, he hasn't had the same upbringing like we'd seen with Kal-El in the past experiences. This Kal-El had experienced some of the darkness of humanity. So Jor-El does go about his training in a very different manner. Not very different, but just a different manner in general. Now, Kal-El actually adopts the black suit on this Earth from the beginning. He doesn't wear a blue suit, then gets the black suit later. He just has the black suit from the beginning and was actually going to call himself Savior, but was eventually labeled Superman. Now, Kal-El on this Earth stood up against anyone that really posed a threat to the Western world, which made him not the biggest favourite of certain higher figures, but adored by the general public. However, one thing that changed everything was when he is eventually confronted by Tal-Rho on this Earth, offering pretty much the same stuff as Tal-Rho did on Earth Prime in Season 1, with Tal-Rho convincing Kal-El that the diseased of the human race, the troublesome and toxic humans will be the ones sacrificed, allowing them to restore Krypton, allowing it to blossom from the ashes of the sacrifice like a controlled burn, which leads to the attack on Metropolis that we saw in last season's flashbacks with John Henry Irons. This attack only really formed a resistance against the Kryptonians and really doing anything somewhat positive, which led to the way we saw the world in those flashbacks once again, with us seeing that the one actually telling this story about this evil Kal-El is Magog, who has his eyes on this evil Kal-El and adds him to his group of villains shortly after the moments that John Henry was transported to Earth Prime last season. So I think they did a pretty good job explaining what made this Kal-El different, because everyone was wondering what the trigger point was, and that it would have been not our Clark from season 1 really following the same story, because there were differences. And I sort of really enjoyed the fact that they actually showed us what the timeline was to this Kal-El being in the black suit and doing what he did and everything like that, while there are still similarities to what we saw in season 1 as well. Now, the interesting thing about this comic is they actually did include some teasers for the upcoming episode, or maybe episodes, of Superman and Lois season 2 by showing us newspaper covers from the Bizarro world. So you can see here that we have not the Daily Planet, but the Planet Weekly, and it's a square Earth, which is like what the Bizarro world is. It's not a circular world in the comics, it's a cube. So I thought that was really, really cool. But from the top we have, is Kal-El dying? Once again, we don't really get any pictures here, we just get the titles, which I think is interesting, so you can make your own theories based off them. But yeah, we have, is Kal-El dying? Jordan and Jor-El, Jordan L and Jonathan L, which is the heir and which is the spare. I like that title. Obviously, which one I guess is going to get powers and which one isn't. Maybe that's something that's put out there. But also, we don't really know the backstory of this Kal-El on this Earth and everything like that. So we know he's meant to be famous, and There's a suggestion about him being, you know, a leader in one of these articles, as one of these headlines as well, so which we'll get to. So very curious to see what that means exactly. Then we have, is Ali Alston the most misunderstood visionary of the century, which maybe suggests the eventual downfall of this bizarre world. Then we have Kal-El endorsement lifts presidential approval rating to new heights. So I guess this Kal-El, or this Superman on this Earth, was, well, no, he's not. So I guess was he going for president, or did he endorse the president? Maybe Tal-Rho was going to be the president. I don't know. I'm sure we'll find out. I'm not too sure if that means that Kal-El was going for president or that Kal-El endorsed the president. I guess we'll have to wait and find out. But speaking of the president, the final one says president calls for investigation of Star City riots. So there's a bit of like an Arrow connection there as well, which I thought was pretty fun. But yeah, this was at the end of the comic issue. There is also like a scrapbook of sorts of John Henry Irons. I think it was actually Natalie's. Natalie Irons is like scrapbook with the suit and everything, and like how like them testing certain like weapons and certain things for the suit, and things to do to the suit to improve it and stuff like that. So if you buy the comic issue, you'll get all that at the end. It's just that it was a lot to break down. This video would have been long enough if I did that. So you can buy the issue and you get this, and obviously in the comic issue, this thing with the newspaper headlines is actually flipped around to make it look like it's from the Bizarro world. It's flipped around, but I obviously flipped the picture so we could read them properly. But yeah, this Superman and Lois issue of the Earth Prime comic event, I really enjoyed it. I like the 3 stories that they put in there. They focused on different elements of Superman and just the world of the Arrowverse as well, which I thought was really cool. I'm excited to see a Superman versus evil Superman, most likely in the final crossover issue, which I think will be pretty exciting. Don't know if that's going to lead to anything in live action going forward. That's for us to wait and find out. But I did like what they did in this issue in regards to all the setup. But thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome if you could drop a like on it to show support. Let me know in the comment section down below your various opinions about everything I went over. I'm always curious to read what you guys are thinking. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. And yeah, I'll catch you guys later. Goodbye.